How many dial variations are there for the Zenith Daytona? So there's gonna be 5 in total, and let's break those down. So we start off with the Mark I, which is also known as a floating cosmograph dial. Then we have a Mark II, which only has 4 lines of text. And then we move to the Mark III, which is also known as an inverted 6. They all have an inverted 6, but what is that? On the bottom subdial, the 6 actually looks like a 9, and it's gonna have a completely different typeface than the Mark IVs and Mark Vs. The Mark IVs is when we start getting into a different text layout on the subdials, and that's gonna be tritium. Then we move to the Mark V, which is the very tail end, and those are gonna be luminova dials. How do watch dealers insure their parcels when shipping? So most that I know use an independent third-party jeweler's insurance. The most popular are gonna be Parcel Pro, owned by UPS, IFS InfoSure, it's completely independent, or if you're shipping super high value goods, you might use somebody who's like an armored car service like Ferrari. Do you think the era of 50s and 60s vintage Rolex will reach their former peaks? I think this is a pretty packed question. Let me give you some high-level thoughts here. I think as time goes on, they'll certainly become more scarce, and scarcity is gonna ultimately drive up price. That said, I do think there's a big change happening within the collecting community. Most of the new collectors that are coming into the space want something that's a little more substantial on the wrist, and as a result, they're chasing things like 5-digit Rolexes or vintage day dates. Is Lume less likely to fall out of white gold surrounds versus earlier iterations? I'd say so. The reason that you'll typically find Lume flaking off is it is a dry, brittle material. The older matte dials, they actually like paint it on, and it's very, very thin. You will start to see that chip away and the white paint underneath reveal itself. When it comes to 5-digit Rolex, what are the years of production that tend to take on the most vibrant shades of patina? So from my experience, you find that sweet spot to be roughly 1990 to 1992. So more specifically, E, N, and X serials. For whatever reason, the dial manufacturers that Rolex was contracting out to at the time, they were using a mixture that did tend to take on more color than others. What is the best modern Rolex to buy in either yellow gold or rose gold? So first, I know I give a lot of opinions and you guys want that from me, but they are just opinions. At the end of the day, buy what makes you happy. Now, if I had an unlimited budget, and let's take away meteorite dials, for example, standard watches, I'd probably go with either a rose gold GMT or a green dial day date. Is there any way to verify if a Rolex is authentic based off of the serial number? Unfortunately not. That said, from time to time, counterfeiters will use the same serial number. You might want to go ahead and do a quick search if something seems off. Maybe it's popped up before, but unfortunately there's not any way to tell. What are my thoughts on Oyster Flex Daytonas? I absolutely love them. For me, I love wearing a gold watch, but they can be fatiguing to wear on a daily basis. I really love how the Oyster Flex gives you a much sportier vibe, and it's less fatiguing to wear. What is my favorite Rolex bracelet? For me personally, it's definitely gonna be a gold rivet. I just love the way that they drape over your wrist. The downside though, is because of their construction, they tend to degrade faster than others, so it's really challenging to find one in great condition.